What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLag.
And I'm NB.
And we are recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 7, Episode 11. And it's called Chapter 128, Halloween 2.
Duh.
Duh.
Don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending of the podcast. We're going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines, and some of your guys' recap roundups. So be sure to stick around for the end of the pod for that.
As always, for our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the episode.
Let's get into the episode. What are your thoughts?
Wow, what a great episode. I really enjoyed it. Like, lots of things happened. Very exciting. We got like a few new things happening here and there. We got some BARCHIE, we got some romance, we got some dancing, we got some musical. I feel like it was like everything. Like, so much happened this episode. What did you think?
I agree. I think so much happened. It was so well done. I think I say this every single podcast. Like, I'm really just blown away at how good this has been. And every week now, I feel like I'm like waiting for the ball to drop. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be like the shit episode. This is gonna, where, like,
Right.
and like it just keeps getting better and better. And especially this week and the last couple of weeks, I honestly feel like Archie and Reggie's relationship has really been at the core of what the show is. Like, it's been such a beautiful thing to see and get, and like we never got that in the previous season. So I'm loving watching these two guys be on screen together. They're magic. Plus the whole Milkman storyline is like actually really interesting. Like, I'm down for this mystery.
Now I'm engaged.
I'm engaged, right? And then even the Veronica storyline, like with the Babylonian, like I'm loving all of that too. So every aspect, I'm really, really intrigued by all of it.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised at how much I'm enjoying where we're at right now. And I guess we'll see what happens next. Like, I'm just jumping into like where we're at, dealing with like what is like what we're seeing on screen right now, and like forgetting about like how we got here. We're in the 50s, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm really like in this world. Like, I think that this season really, if it's taught me anything over the past 10 episodes, is like just jump in,
just enjoy the ride,
let loose and enjoy the ride, and get in that car with Julian and drive off of a cliff. You know what I mean?
I mean,
like,
don't do that, but
do the damn thing. Don't do that. Anyway, let's get into it. So it starts off with Jughead talking to Tom Keller about the milkman. He comes back with this information. He's like, after I talked to the cat lady, there's a milkman, and then Ethel said that there was a milkman. Like, is there a milkman situation going on? Tom is like, no, he killed himself, he committed suicide, that's not even a thing. And then he reminded him, just reminding you, tomorrow is Halloween, or like in a few days it's Halloween. There's a ban for teenagers, leave it for the kids. It was a very random thing to say to Jughead specifically, like, don't you go out crazy. But I'm like, Jughead does not go do anything crazy, but okay, fine.
I think it's important to note that when he says, a lot of the figures that we've been questioning all season make these comments this week. And I don't know if you noticed that, like even later on, Frank says something about that. And it's just like, we have this prediction and this theory where like the men in the town have this like underground secret society controlling the teenagers and the kids and all these things. And I think it just alludes to that even more. Like, they all are on the same narrative. Like, they're all saying the same thing, like getting it ready for Halloween. So I'm like, okay, something's like definitely like sketchy right now.
Yeah, and I don't know, I seriously don't know what it is, and we'll see what happens as things go on, but like there must be something there. There has to be some sort of connection between 100%. All these adults.
So I don't know if you listened to last week's podcast. I think Macy said, or maybe Mackenzie, they said the maple, there's some sort of connection with the maple factory.
I love that connection. When they said that, I was like, oh my God, yeah, absolutely.
Because that makes sense, right?
Yes. Shout out to Mackenzie and Macy for
they were so good.
You guys did such a great job.
Yeah, it was a fun discussion, and like, yeah, I think that's a definitely valid theory to have, whether or not it's like them just working there or the Blossoms are involved in it too, like they're facilitating it or something like that. So
it makes sense.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll talk about it at the end of the episode. So then there's a shot really quickly of Jughead kind of losing his mind a little bit about the milk. He goes to his like train car, he opens up the fridge, he sees milk, he like pours it down the sink because he's like now worried about what's in the milk.
He's like boycotting milk. Yeah.
So then it cuts to Riverdale High, And Veronica, this poor girl, she gets excited about Halloween. She sees that it's like, Halloween weekend.
She does that thing that you dread in high school. Like you come,
Dread.
like, okay, we went to a Catholic school, so we would have like days where we could wear like regular like civilian clothes.
Civvies
And
Day.
then like sometimes you would forget that that day was civilian clothes and you'd still show up in your uniform and everyone's like, you're such a loser. You forgot that it was civilian day. And I
Yeah.
felt like that was this moment where like she rolls up and she's like, it's Halloween. And they're like, nah, B, like we don't do that.
On another level, like embarrassment. It was so bad. It was like that part in Stranger Things when all the 3 kids show up as the Ghostbusters.
And it also because like she thought about it too. Like she stood there and she was like, should I get dressed up? Yeah, I'm gonna get dressed up. And then like it was like a
and
fail.
she walks down the hallways, they're like, ooh. I mean, at least she looked good. At least she wasn't like looked crazy or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, she realizes that no one gets dressed, and then she also learns that the reason why no one's dressed up is because Riverdale has a very dark history with Halloween specifically. I don't know when he says it happened, but Archie basically says that there was a car full of kids one Halloween gallivanting, and they literally drove off the road and died. So,
and it was like 2 vixens and 2 bulldogs.
Yeah, and so now no one really like celebrates. If you're a teenager, it's only for the kids.
Which still made it okay. We'll talk about this later too, but like I found it weird that like they were trick or treating because I was like, if the town hates Halloween, like why are you trick or treating? Like the houses wouldn't have candy then.
But it's for the kids, right? So they were allowed to like let kids do it. I think the idea was that Dilton was supposed to be the kid and they were taking him around.
Oh, so
he wore a mask, right?
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought that this episode really could have used a nod to Greendale. I felt like there was so many moments where they could have thrown in Greendale and like
they mention it. They mention it.
Do they mention it?
They say it in this actual scene. Like I think it's Cheryl who says, unlike Greendale, we don't embrace Halloween the way Greendale does, or something like that.
See, because it would have been cool if like they left Riverdale to go to Greendale to do like Halloween.
Right.
Just like that would have been nod, fun.
Just as a little nod for sure, or even like have Julian's goons like drive
even the cemetery
Greendale. Yeah,
like I thought the cemetery would be the Greendale cemetery.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, I'm like, whatever. But then Frank wouldn't be like his Frank wouldn't be there. Yeah,
Fred wouldn't have been there.
Fred, sorry. Yeah.
Anyway, so she finds out about this like story, and Veronica's like, well, where I'm from in LA, they love Halloween, so we're gonna celebrate, and my family likes to celebrate Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, which is the following day after Halloween, where they pray to the spirits of the dead. And everyone's just like super happy because like finally, not to like make this a thing, but like finally she mentions like her culture for the
100%. I was just gonna say that. Like I really appreciated that because I was like, yeah. You're right. Like she's never had a throw to her Latin culture or like her Hispanic background, like never. And like this is just like a small throw, but like I really did appreciate it and I wanted more of it.
Right. And I think, I mean, to her defense, I think that like maybe even her parents don't really celebrate, because she says like it's my favorite holiday because like my parents don't celebrate basically anything else. She's like,
but they celebrate that, right?
Yeah, it's the one tradition that they actually like hold up. So then she's like, we're gonna do something, we're gonna celebrate the dead, I'm gonna figure something out. And then in that moment in time, Jughead gets into the lounge, he sees everybody drinking milk, and then he freaks out and starts yelling at everybody. It's weird because Veronica like finishes saying what she's got to say. He comes in, he like screams at everybody not to drink the milk, just drink powdered milk. And then it cuts back to her and she's like, ooh, like
like she looked at him like really weird. Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that they had like a history in the beginning of the season, but like why does it have to keep cutting back to her?
She was like, ew, I can't believe I like that freak.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know. Anyway, cuts to Jughead talking to Ethel on the phone. He gives her all the details of what happened. There was another murder that so he thinks. Someone else is dead. And Ethel has an idea, which I don't know why they didn't think about this before. She's like, I've been thinking, why don't you find out who wrote the original Milkman comic? And see, like if there is some detail there, like maybe they know something. So he's like, good idea, I'm gonna do that. So then it cuts to Reggie, Archie, and Betty at the garage at school, and Betty's watching Archie and Reggie talk about Halloween and the fact that Reggie's never celebrated it before. And then we get like this, I'm like slobbering.
Yeah.
I'm like drooling. We get this like fantasy shot where Betty's just watching these guys all greased up, all oily, zoom ins on like Reggie's arms and Archie's pecs and like his abs. And
it's so funny because like it did come out
so
of
funny.
nowhere. Like they were literally talking about like Halloween and like death, and then it cuts to Betty and she's like, I was like, right now?
Yeah, like girl, every single, like you really do think about sex every 5 seconds. So there's a makeup.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just gonna say there's like a super cute, like not super cute, super hot makeout fantasy where she gets in between the two of them. She like kisses Archie.
Super hot, super hot.
And then she has to snap out of it. What are you gonna say?
So that's the thing. Like, is Reggie not like into Veronica anymore? Like, is that done?
I guess. I think that's a really good question.
There was no even like nod to that this week.
Like what happened last episode, the fact that they went on a date.
Yeah, and like
the date didn't go well. Like they didn't really, like they didn't have a thing at the
end
of it, right?
Yeah, true. But still, like I felt like he was starting to get into her and vice versa. And then even later in this episode, like Veronica's like helping Betty like figure out who she wants to fuck. And I'm like, Veronica, like, didn't you want Reggie? Like she didn't even like give her a weird look or anything. So I was like, I don't get what's happening. Like,
yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about it. I was just caught up in the fact that like here's Betty wanting to have like a freaking love triangle.
And I was down for that too. I just didn't understand like the timing of it. Like last week you guys were gonna go on a double date. So I'm wondering if like this episode was shot in a different order and like they didn't know what the next one, like it just felt weird to me that Veronica had no question about, oh, you like Reggie now? I liked Reggie last week. Like there was just none of that. And that kind of felt weird.
That's a really, really good point. I didn't even think about it. But yeah, fair enough. Anyway, so in the same scene, Archie like snaps her out of it and he's like, oh, well, Reggie's never really celebrated a Halloween before. Like maybe we should do like the 3 main things that we do as teenagers in Riverdale. And Betty's like, yes, absolutely. There are 3 things that we do. The first is trick-or-treating. Second is visiting a graveyard. And the third is necking in a haunted house. And she's like, we could do that. Like she is hornified.
She's hornified. Like she's ready to go, ready to blow.
She's ready to blow. So then it cuts to Veronica working at the Babylonian, and she hears, it's like late at night. She's like just
right away. I'm like,
office.
Kevin.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what you guys doing in there? So she hears something in the projection room. She's like, the projection room this late at night?
What could it be? A ghost?
Yeah, she goes inside. Of course, it's Clay and Kevin like doing the hanky panky, and she talks to them and she was like, I was thinking, maybe we can do a ghost show at the Babylonian where we do like monsters and movies and burlesque, and like at midnight we can like raise the dead, and we can do like a 1920s theme for like the dress code. And they're like, oh yeah, sounds like a good idea, like, but also like, why are you here right now? And she was like, oh, I just like was working late, whatever. They kind of brush it off. Anyway, then it cuts to Riverdale High the next morning. Veronica's selling these tickets. She's like, it's gonna be great. We're gonna raise the ghost of the 4 students. I was like, I was like, is that too soon? Is that like in poor taste? So then it cuts to Pep Comics. Jughead asked Mr. Fieldstone about the writer. Mr. Fieldstone is like, I have no idea who that is, which I think is weird. I'm like, is it not like, aren't all comics like written by?
Like, but maybe did he say he's anonymous or something? Is that why? Or like he just was like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't have the foggiest idea who it was.
Yeah, it was so weird. He's like, come to the party and ask everyone else who might know. I was like, bro, you're the boss. Right. Like, how do you not know?
How do you not know? So he's like, yeah, he might be at the annual like Halloween party. You should show up and maybe he'll be there. So Jughead's like, okay, cool. Cuts to Tony talking to Cheryl about going to Veronica's ghost show. And she wanted to know if she wanted to perform with her, Clay and Kevin. And Cheryl gets a little nervous when she asks her. She's like, in public, like on a stage. And then Tony's like, yeah, like I figured that we can all just like kind of do it together. It'll be a little bit more fun. And Cheryl says, sorry, I can't. I'm hosting a sleepover. It's a kind of a tradition to host a sleepover with the Vixens on Halloween. So Tony's like, okay, well, that's fine. I just figured. And she says, Halloween's the one night of the year where everyone wears a mask. People like you, me, and Kevin and Clay don't have to. I love that line.
Oh,
It
so
is my
good.
best line.
Yeah.
And then she kind of walks away and Cheryl has to like to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it cuts to basketball practice. And like you mentioned, Frank tells all the boys, listen, I know it's Halloween weekend. Like, do not go out for Halloween. Like, that is a rule. Like, I don't want to hear anything about you guys going out. And everybody's like, yeah, okay, fine. Then in the lockers, of course, Julian's like, oh, that was really good acting, guys. Like, I'll see you guys out there. Like, he's excited to like go and like party and do something crazy. And even though like Archie and Reggie are like, nah, we're not doing that shit. Julian's obviously going to be out there doing some weird stuff. Then it cuts to Veronica and Betty talking to the lockers. And like you mentioned, Betty tells Veronica she's getting butterflies for Archie and for Reggie. And then Veronica's like, well, it's a great opportunity, Halloween, to see which
like,
one
test
you
it
sway
out
toward. So yeah, bringing that whole situation back, like I don't know why they didn't even talk about the fact that like
it's
Veronica's over it.
nothing. And that felt a little weird. Like, even if she had given her like a weird look or taken an extra beat and been like, oh, really? Like Reggie? I would have been like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, she's like double even though she wants her friend to like get the D, like it's she can do that, but she didn't even bat another eyelash to be like, girl.
It makes me feel like I think we talked about it a few episodes ago, or maybe even past that. Like Veronica and Reggie, when you really look at them on paper, like there is not a really like they don't have a deep connection with each
Totally.
other.
Yeah.
So like not only was it was unfortunate, I know you all mentioned it on the last podcast too, like we didn't get to see their first date
Yeah.
like at all.
At
Like we didn't get
all.
to see their experience with each other, like what that kind of back and forth was going to be
Yeah.
like what are they even talking about. Their focus was on Archie and
Yeah.
Betty, and then we didn't get that second double date either. So you
We
at
don't
this
even
point in
see them
time
really in that dynamic.
you have no idea like what their romantic
Yeah.
connection is outside of like him bringing her flowers that one time. Like you don't really know like what their connection is. So maybe Veronica's seeing him more as like a good time guy and like
Mm.
not really taking it super seriously, even though she's the one that pursued it last episode.
And even if she
I
had
don't
made a
know.
comment, like that's a good point. Like even if she had made a comment to be like, well, like we saw what our double date did and that didn't work out or something, like
Right.
even
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
line to be
yeah.
like, I'm not interested in him or like just didn't work out or who
Yeah.
knows, kind of like that would have been a cute nod to that. And they just wasn't any of that. So I was kind of
Or
like,
like
oh,
even make a joke like, guys do it all the time, like, oh, I guess you get first dibs since I'm busy with my show. Like, go ahead
yeah,
and like have fun with the
yeah,
boys. You know what I mean? Like, just to make, just to your point, make the connection that they did try to go on a double date last week.
yeah,
She was going to link up with Reggie. I know that even last week's episode, they were going to do a flip, right? Like, at one point, they even
yes,
considered like switching partners.
yes, yes,
So, like, are they all just not taking this very seriously and we're seeing it in the lens of like Archie and Betty are like the true loves and like Betty and like Veronica and I don't know, like maybe we're
yeah,
taking it too seriously and they're just like we're high school students, like we don't give a shit. Like
yeah.
it's not a big deal.
Or things were shot in a different order
Or
and like
yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
there's some inconsistencies with that writing, but yeah, I don't know.
I would agree with that too, because if you pull this out and put it somewhere else in this season, it still would make sense. I
Yes,
mean,
and
kind of.
Mackenzie did say they've been filming episodes like out of order. I don't know which ones.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know the specifics, but she's like they did film some things out of order just because of logistics, I guess.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
so
That makes sense. So then it cuts to the Thornhill, and there's a random note where Penelope tells Cheryl she wants everybody to be in the grand hall this year instead of in her room, like when they have the sleepover. So there's no opportunity for honky ponky
right.
and whatever. So that happens. Then it cuts to the Babylonian, and as they're setting up, Alice walks in, and Alice is like just like Snoopy Doopy. She's like, in Riverdale for Halloween, people watch me and my husband on television. It's a family thing. We all kind of, everybody just has a good time watching it. And Veronica's like, well, this event that I'm throwing is specifically for teenagers. It's not for families. So you're good, like go have fun with your show and I'll do my own thing. And Alice basically says like, you're a troublemaker, she's going to keep an eye on Veronica. And this had me thinking about the parallels of her in like the original,
Yeah.
like last season, where Alice was the one that was coming after Veronica at the
Yeah.
Babylonian, where she was like, you need to shut this place down.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's a connection there where they're pulling Alice in to be that mom again, to be like, what's going on, what's this shady situation
Yeah.
going on at the Babylonian.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Jughead's train car and he hears someone outside, and it turns out to be Ethel, and Ethel is like covered in mud and she's like, yo, what's poppin'?
Came out of the dirt.
Like, hello.
She missed her boy Jughead.
I know, she when she was on the phone with him, she was like, I really miss you. I was
She's like, I really like, I need to see your face. He's like, hey girl.
He's like, just wanted to tell you
I've
there was
been
a
busy.
murder.
What's Tabitha?
True. Where was Tabitha?
She's like,
oh, she's gone. She's gone,
right?
She
she left again.
So
darn.
I know, darn.
Darn it.
So she tells him that she escaped through some hidden tunnels that she finally found, which was also a throwback to like when Cheryl was there and they found the hidden tunnels.
Those darn hidden tunnels.
Those hidden tunnels. She wasn't wearing like a revealing outfit as she was running away and escaping like they were. And Jughead tells her, because she's trying to figure out like where to stay, what is she gonna do now that she's escaped, and he says like, you can stay at Mr. Rayberry's place, like he's dead, so like
sure, stay at the place that a man was murdered at.
Yeah, and you are
it's
also
literally a crime scene.
The fact that she was able to just roll in there was baffling to me.
I was like, Jughead, is there anywhere else? Like, really?
I know. Could you go anywhere else at all?
Put her in the Babylonian or something. Like,
true. I know. Anywhere. So then she's like, I just need a few more months and then I'm going to be 18 and then I won't be awarded the state and then I can like do my own thing. So he's like, cool, go do that thing. That's fine. Then it cuts to Riverdale High, and Midge asks Cheryl if instead of going to the sleepover, she can go to the ghost show. Because Fangs is performing, and initially Cheryl says no, but then she turns to Midge as Midge is leaving and she says, well, if we both go, then we can never speak of what we see when we're there. Like, if I let you go, then we can both go together and like it'll just be our little secret.
Can I ask you something? And we talked about this last week too. What do you think is Midge and Fangs' storyline this year? Like, why are we getting so much of them in this timeline? What do you think it is?
It's a really good question. I don't know. I really don't know what it is, outside of the fact that she has this random connection to the Vixens, and so like Cheryl gets to play with those characters a bit.
Yeah.
But you see it most in this episode, really. Before that, you don't really even see any connection. I don't know what they're doing to play these characters up in this final season. We're getting so many scenes with Midge and Fangs. Like, Midge was not even in like all of the last 5 seasons, and suddenly she's getting the biggest glow up of all time. I know.
Like at the same time, like, I don't mind it. And I think one of the girls last week even mentioned, like, does it have something to do with baby Anthony? Like, are they the funnel of like, eventually she's gonna give birth to baby Anthony? Like, is that why they're keeping them around? Because like, otherwise, like, I get why they'd be like in the background. But like, they're pretty in the forefront of like the episode too. Like, they, you know. So, and he has like a musical moment, and like, I'm just sitting here wondering, like, why are we focusing so much on them? Like, I really want to get to what happens and why are they here.
Right. I'm trying to just see them as like these B characters that are kind of just interacting with the A characters a bit, but because you don't get deep enough to really understand like what they're like.
No, but they're like, my mom's gonna love this and my family's gonna love you. Like, they really get into like their backstory and like what they're currently dealing with. So like, they still get a lot of, in my opinion, they still get a lot of airtime for two people who like we didn't. I mean, Fangs obviously had a big part last season, but like she was dead, right? Like she was gone, girl.
Dead. Yeah, she did not even exist. And yeah, I mean, like, she's getting more at this point. She's getting more lines than Kevin and Clay, and that's, I think, the part that I feel like there is like an imbalance. The fact that they're focusing so much on these characters that we don't really know much about. I mean, we're learning a little bit more. I'm not terribly mad at it. It's not like Midge is like this
No,
annoying girl that I can't stand or anything, and Fangs
no.
we've known for years. So I'm just like, okay, I'm going along with it. But like there's random moments where like I don't even really care about the banter. Like to your point, at one point, when Julian's asking everybody, like, oh, are we all gonna like pop off for Halloween? Fangs is like, I'm performing, and he's like, nobody cares,
Yeah, he's like,
bro.
nobody cares about your greasy ass. I was like,
I
okay.
know, but I was also just like, I don't really care about your greasy ass. Like, why did you have to randomly mention that? Like, it almost played like a comic book in that way, where like
Yeah.
someone says one thing, this random character says something, and then like there's a little bit of like a boop, you
What
know.
I was saying
I just
last week
didn't get it though.
what I was saying last week was like the way the episode ended, where like Fangs walks in and like now he's famous and like everyone's like, like they're fangirling over him. I'm like, oh, like is this gonna become like a story where like he gets so famous that like he's not interested in Midge anymore and like he becomes like he glows up?
Right.
But that doesn't you don't really get any of that this week either. So I was like, okay,
No.
here we are once again. Like I'm thinking it's gonna go this way and like it doesn't even there's nothing.
It's like
So
back to
I was
normal
like,
again.
okay,
Yeah.
so there's not much to think about that. But to your point, yeah, like I don't like hate them. I'm just like sitting there wondering like why are we
Why?
getting so much of them? But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I wonder if they're just the perfect counterpart to Shoni. Because if you
Yeah.
notice, like a lot of Shoni scenes are with them. Because like everyone
Right.
else is like busy with their own like other storylines. So maybe it's
Right.
just even that.
But the funny thing is like I just mentioned, like they can flip those two characters out and put Clay and Kevin and make all the gays hang out together. You know what I
True.
mean?
Yeah, that's
But
true.
I think the problem is we have not seen enough of Clay and
Yeah,
Kevin
I
to
know.
really like want, like we have literally seen more backstory of Fangs and Midge than we have seen of Clay and Kevin,
Literally. Literally.
realistically.
Yeah, yeah.
So putting them in now may have been a good opportunity, but like
Yeah.
they missed that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see what happens. And so Midge goes on to say, I'm good, really good at keeping secrets. And Cheryl said, well, maybe after the show, we can like share each other's secrets. They're like, cool. So then it cuts to Jughead getting a call into the principal's office, and he gets asked by the sheriff and the principal, like, where is Ethel? She escaped. And Jughead's like, I don't know. You can check my trailer. Like, there's nobody there. I have no idea what happened to her. Anyway, he leaves. Then it cuts to Archie and Reggie talking in his room as they're getting ready for Halloween.
One of my favorite scenes of probably
Stop.
the entire season.
It was
It was
so
so cute.
cute watching, like to your point, you said at the top of the episode, like watching them have this banter and this friendship. It is better than any
Yeah.
relationship that I've
Yeah.
ever seen Archie in, actually. Like
Yeah.
forget the girls, forget
Forget Jughead and
Jughead.
Archie. Like, no, like
Archie and
this is
Reggie
the
are the
relationship.
ship. Like they are the
Yeah.
ship of the season,
Yes.
really, when you look at them.
They are
And
endgame, literally.
yeah, they are endgame. The way that they bond with each other, the way that they have these like little conversations, like, and just to think the fact that like their history that was created this season, like Reggie being the small town boy, half Korean, half American, like, you know what I mean, like having that and having Archie kind of come in as his like really good friend, and they have this great banter. It's just heartwarming. I don't know, it's
Totally.
just
And
one of
they're
the things that we
acting.
haven't seen in a
And
long time.
it's interesting because Betty and Archie are so rooted in their history and how long they've known each other. But then you have a
Right.
relationship like Reggie and Archie, like they've only known each other for like what, a couple of weeks, and
Right.
yet they have such a rich story together. And like that's the credit to like the writing of this season too, right?
Mhm.
Like it's been so amazing. And I
Right.
think their acting is just beyond. Like their
Yeah.
dynamic, their chemistry together, you can see it at the end of that scene when like Archie pulls out his gun and then like Reggie pulls out, like it's just the timing is even perfect. Like their
For
comedic
sure.
timing is perfect. Like
Yeah.
oh my god, it's so good. And even
So well done.
and what do they talk about in this scene? Because Archie's like, oh, like, or does Reggie say it first? He's like, I'm kind of like vibing with like
He
Betty,
says
like
it.
the vibes are there.
I think Archie even mentions like, how did that whole like car thing happen in the first
Yeah.
place, which was like
Yeah.
even a funny scene last episode, like how they kind of got together to
So
start this car
funny.
situation. And then Reggie's like, yeah, like she's just like, I'm vibing with her, I'm getting these vibes from her as well. And then Archie and him kind of have this like very friendly banter where Archie's like, well,
Yeah.
me and Betty have like a lot of history, like I've known her for like years.
Yeah.
And Reggie's kind of like, but I was vibing with her too, so like, and what, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's not like like it's just
No.
the way they wrote it and the way they was acted out, like was just like perfect.
They're
Like
treading very carefully too. Like they
Yes.
tread very carefully.
Yes.
And then the sort of like ending conclusion was like, you know what? Let's take this as like two men. Let's see how the night goes. And if one of us is like vibing with her more, let's agree that the other one will just dip out. And I thought
Right.
that that was such a mature way of like approaching the situation where they could have like, and I didn't know where I was gonna go. I was like, oh my god, are they gonna like blow up at each other? Like they're not gonna want to
Right.
like leave, you know? And but I just thought that was such an interesting way of approaching that situation.
For sure. They could have made it a super comical thing where like each of them are like
Super
vying for
toxic,
her
right?
attention. But instead, like they made it like a very like anyway, we'll talk
Very
about that
mature.
as we get
Yeah.
into it. It was really,
Yeah.
really well done. So then it cuts to really quickly Jughead showing up to the Halloween party with Ethel. So we know that both of them are there to like suss out where this writer is. Then it cuts back to the Cooper residence, and we find out that Dilton is going to be tagging along to play the kid for their traditions of trick or treating.
Hmm.
And Dilton's like, anything for Betty Cooper. Like he was just like so excited anyway. So she comes down the stairs, and I died at what she says
Love
after.
this.
She shows up stunning as like Goldilocks. They're like, oh, so
They're
like,
like, who are you
you're
supposed to be? And
Goldilocks.
they're like enamored. They're like, oh my God, oh
They're
my
like
God.
obsessed. Yeah.
And they're
And
like, who are
she's
you
like,
supposed to be? She's like, Goldilocks, obviously.
and then she's like, she couldn't decide on a bed, so she
She
tried all
chose all
three.
three.
I was
I'm
like,
like, ooh, cute
and I'm
sis.
like, tried all three. Is
Like, you
Dilton a
want
part of the
Dilton
storyline?
too?
He was like, let's go. What the fuck? I was dying. And
I
like
loved
the
it.
lines that they're throwing at her, I'm like, I'm so intrigued because I know that there's such a focus on like Betty's like sexual awakening this
Yeah.
season,
Yeah.
but like they're really leaning in. They're really like making it so like a woman who wants to have sex and like is in like excited and like enticing is just out there doing her thing.
Love
I
it.
feel
Yeah.
like we don't really see this character very often played this way because eventually it goes to like a darker place. I think that she's still in her body,
Yeah.
she's enjoying
Yeah.
herself, the people around her are respecting her, she's kept the right people around her.
I
So
thought
I
it
think
was,
that it was really well done and I'm
yeah,
excited
agreed.
for her.
I know. I was like, get the D girl, like on
Get it,
Halloween, like get it,
girl.
girl. But also, I did love the fact that they let these characters play on Halloween night, whereas the other whole side of the
Yes,
cast was at the Babylonian. Like, I really
right.
liked how they didn't just merge everything together. And that we got like trick or treating, we got like that Halloween experience. We've never gotten that in Riverdale
It's
ever.
true. Yeah, that's
So
true.
I really did appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it was a really cute episode like overall because
Yeah.
you get different aspects of it for sure.
Yeah.
So while they're out, you keep seeing like Julian pop up, like driving around, smashing pumpkins, smashing mailboxes, and that's at this point. I think they go to one house, and then Dilton's like, "I gotta go,"
He's like
and literally,
triggered. He's like, I'm
yeah,
literally a pumpkin. They're gonna
yeah,
smash my head.
yeah. He's like, "I gotta leave." So
Okay.
they're like, "It's fine. We already did this part. We're gonna go to the graveyard anyway."
Yeah.
So then it cuts to the ghost show, which looks like so much freaking fun. It looked like
Yeah.
the Great Gatsby, basically.
She's doing
Um,
amazing work. Like
I
truly.
you're like Veronica is doing all the good
Like the
work.
creative director in her is like thriving,
Yeah,
actually.
she's
Like
living her best life.
it's so good.
It's so good.
Like when you
Like
are
her,
watching and want to be in the show, I'm like, I actually
I'm
want to
like,
go
that's
to the
impressive.
show.
Yeah, well done. She's popping off. How she's making this much money running
I
like
know,
a
like the
small
budget.
town thing. I'm like, okay, cool, work.
That popcorn
Uh,
money, I guess.
it's that popcorn money and that painting money. There's extra
Yeah.
painting money in there. Um, so Cheryl shows up, everyone's partying. She talks to Tony. Tony's really excited to see her, but there's not much more that happens a scene. Then it cuts to Jughead's Halloween party, and he's going around, and it cuts to like all these people like, oh, did you know who wrote the comic? Did you write the comic? Did you write the comic? Finally, he finds out from this guy that the person that wrote it is named Ted Sullivan. And Jughead's like,
Ted?
okay, cool.
He's like, Ted?
He's like, Ted,
Ted?
not
I'm
him.
like,
Who's
why are you
that?
yelling Ted's name?
And then he's like, but he's dead now. Like he's not alive.
Ted's
He
dead.
Ted is dead. He hung himself after he wrote it, and he said he wouldn't be able to write a better story than that.
Yeah, like he peaked at the Milkman.
He peeked at the milk. and he decided to kill himself. And then the guy went on this random tangent that I didn't know how to take it, like like I didn't know how to take it, but he's basically like,
no, but I loved it.
He had the right idea. The enemy is at home. The wholesome, conforming, homogenous America that we know is actually the real enemy. And I was like,
no, but I did appreciate it, because I think like the psyche of
the thesis of Riverdale, right?
Totally. And like the psyche of American culture at that time, it was like, the Russians are coming, the Russians are gonna blow us up, the Russians are like, the enemy was always someone else outside of the Americans. Meanwhile, the problem is probably to you guys.
Yeah.
Like, it truly is. The stranger is in the house. Like, it's you.
Me. Hi, I'm the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So I appreciated it, but like it's like watching even Stranger Things, like that whole idea of like the Russians and like the communists, like it's like that thing, right, of that time.
For sure. So anyway, so that happens. Jughead's like, okay, cool, thanks. Good to know.
Yeah, he's like, all right.
He's like, bye. Then it cuts to the cemetery, and we see like this really cute dynamic between both the boys and Betty on a separate level. So first Betty's talking to Reggie, and in a way it still felt very like wholesome, because like Reggie wasn't like beating his chest by any means, but he did allude to the fact that he's like, there were like, I think, wolves howling or something, and he's like, you know, in my farm there's like a lot of like wolves and I really respect them. And Betty's like, well, why do you think that they respect you? And he was like, well, because like I'm alpha wolf too. And she was like, is that how you see yourself? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. Yeah, you do. Anyway, what are you doing later tonight, Reggie?
Like right now?
Like in this moment in time. Like, I love your costume.
What was he supposed to be? Like a rocket man?
I think he's supposed to be like a space like
a like thing,
shooter.
like Buzz Lightyear. I was like Buzz Lightyear, and then the other guy, Woody.
But from like the 1950s. Literally. Oh yeah, very that vibe. Yeah. First I thought he was Wolverine, which I was like, I don't know if the timing is right on that. Like,
no, because he had a gun. He had like a little like thing gun,
laser gun. But he had the like, he originally looked like Wolverine. I was like, that's hot. Anyway.
Clearly you know where your mind went.
Yeah, I was like, cool, like leotard. So she talks to him, and then she's like, oh, like let's find out like where Archie is. So she like turns around, kind of leaves Reggie on his own for a minute, and walks over, and Archie is at Fred's grave, and he's like just kind of looking at the gravestone. And Betty finally clicks in, and she's like, oh my god, I didn't even put it together that like, you know, we're in the cemetery and like it's your dad. And he's like, honestly, it's totally fine. But then they have their wholesome moment where he basically talks about like them as kids and how his parents used to take them trick-or-treating. And he actually mentions how one year he went as Tom Sawyer and she went as Becky, which is the love interest in that story, Tom and Huck. Or the movie Tom and Huck, but the story Tom Sawyer. So I thought that was cute and a good reference to the fact that, like, you know, they're a pair. It's BARCHIE. And he says something like, it feels like I've known you my entire life, which he essentially has. And they start holding hands, and Reggie kind of sees him from afar, and he's like, oh, so like, you know, like,
he's like, where are we going next?
The haunted house. Yeah.
So that was my moment where I was like, wow, Reggie's being like tight, like he's not leaving, because I thought he was gonna see that and like dip, but then he kind of like intrudes, because like they were gonna almost kiss, I think.
Yes, they were.
And he was like, hey, where are we going now? And I'm like, oh man, like he did kind of like ruin it, but then after, like, there's another scene. So like,
yeah, it's like literally right after this. So I know I felt the same way. I was like, damn, Reggie's like feeling some type of way. He's gonna like come and like kibosh the whole situation. So they end up at the haunted house, which ends up to be Ethel's house because her parents were murdered there. I was
oh like, my god, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was like, that is dark for you kids to like show up at this murder scene.
Like it's a very recent like crime scene. Like, it's not like an old like haunted house, you know?
No, it's like, it's a haunted house that just happened like a month ago. Yeah. So I felt so bad for Ethel.
Oh my god.
They're like sitting in her room and they're like, oh hey. So then she goes and tries to find like blankets, I think, or something like that. So she
or like Betty, like pop or something.
Yeah, like Betty leaves the office. Like Betty leaves, and at that point in time, that is when Archie says like, or he says to Archie like, you know what, I think I'm gonna go. And he's like, why are you leaving? And he's like, there he says specifically, you don't need a seismograph to pick up those vibrations. Like, I
Yeah.
know you
Oh, I
guys are
just got chills.
vibing, like do your own thing.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a very respectful, like, bow
100%.
out, goodbye, that's your girl, like,
And
go
I
get it,
think
boy.
like and I think like depending on how this episode ends or the next episode starts, like if that is it for Reggie's character, like to end off like that is a very like honorable way to like go, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was, yeah, for sure. And I'm hoping that that's not the case. But yeah, I definitely love the way that they kind of like ended off with him just being like this, just as noble as ever.
Totally.
Just be like such a gentleman, go do your thing, the best wingman ever, being
Totally.
like, bro, get your thing, you know?
Yeah.
So that, yeah, I thought that was really cute. And then Betty comes back and she's like, where'd Reggie go? And he's like, yeah, he left, but weekends a lot of fun. She's like, winky winky. She's like super excited. Then it cuts to the Babylonian and they have their floor show and they have like the four resurrected teens. They actually perform a song called Rose Tint My World but from the Rocky Horror Picture
Okay,
Show,
that's what I thought. Yeah.
which is historically inaccurate because the Rocky Horror Picture Show came out in 1975 and
Ooh,
this was in
you got that
1950.
date check.
So incorrect.
Date
I'm sure it's just because like RES is like, this is
There
the
was no
only
other
time I'm ever gonna
songs.
do a like Rocky Horror Picture. I gotta do it right now.
It really did feel like this was their musical episode without being a full musical episode. And I did appreciate that because you know how enthusiastic I am about musicals. So I did appreciate that we got a little glimmer of it and it was very like good. Like they performed
well
amazing,
done.
very well done. But it was just like the right amount, I felt like, for me.
You're like, just one song. I just needed one song.
In and out. That's it.
In and out, done. But I think that there might be a musical episode coming up, like a full
Really?
there must be. I don't know if this is the one.
I don't
personally don't think that
know.
this is the one.
Huh.
Anyway, let us know in the comments if you think that there's another one coming,
Yeah.
because I do feel
Because
like
they usually hype it up, and I haven't heard anything really about it this year, so I don't know. But maybe we still have like half a season, I guess.
That's true. So in this scene, in this song, in this performance, there is a moment where Cheryl and Tony kiss on screen, like on stage,
in front of everyone,
like, ah! And everybody's excited. They have a really cute moment, and then at one point in time, it shows Alice spying in on like what's going on, and she's like, ugh. So I don't know what they're planning for Alice. I don't know how she's going to be involved in the next like couple episodes and how she's going to be like dealing with Veronica and having some drama with Veronica. Do you think that she's going to play like a big, like, what do you think that her role is going to be outside of just being this weird like spy parent watching over Veronica? Like, what do you think?
I don't know. I
she's
definitely do
got
feel
in
like she's
this?
in on this committee thing, maybe. Like maybe
Oh, you
she
think
has a
so?
I think she might have a part to it, or she knows that it exists, maybe. I don't know. But I do feel like, and I know you've been hoping for a sort of arc for Alice and like a come around for her. And I'm still
Yes.
hoping that she is witnessing all these things, but ultimately like she will be the one parent that like turns around and is like, we should let our kids be free and like happy, you know?
I hope so. I hope that that is the case for
Yeah.
sure. Because, but my thing is like, girl, you were on your tip with like Betty this whole time, and now you're jumping onto some other random girl. Like, go focus on your life. Like, why are you
Yeah,
getting in
that's the thing. They
everybody's
can't,
business?
right? Like they're so scared of, you know, them
Yeah,
acting out or doing something dangerous. Like, yeah.
that's true. That's true. So anyway, so that happens. Everyone has a great time. Then it shows Reggie walking home, and as he's like walking home, Julian tells him like, just get in the
I got
car. Like,
so
we're just
scared
gonna
for a
hang
sec
out.
because like the way the shot was, you saw like
Mm.
the baseball bat. And I'm like, oh my God, are they gonna like smack his knee so that
Hit
he can't play
him.
basketball anymore?
Oh my God,
Like
that's
I went there, I
rough.
was like, oh my
That
God, they're
was
gonna fuck up his knee and
dark.
like he's gonna be like done playing sports. Like I got like really worried. And then by the
Oh
time
my
like
God.
they pulled up to him, like they weren't gonna hit him. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. No, I didn't take it. I was like,
I know, I
thank
got
God
so
they didn't go
scared.
that way with it.
I
That would have been
know.
fucking crazy. So anyway, so originally I think that he doesn't want to get into the car, but then Julian's like, come on in,
Yeah,
let's
you
hang
can tell
out.
he hesitates. And I do think a part of his hesitation is that he is a little scared because he's on this road by himself. It's dark, it's nighttime, it's all of them against him. Even if he says, no, I'm fine, it's like they weren't going to let that go. Like they were going to fuck him up if
They
he
weren't
said
gonna
no.
drop it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And I think also because in this moment, I also did feel a little bit like, you know, Reggie, I think he even like looks behind him as if like he's realizing that he just left an opportunity
Yeah,
with Betty and stuff, and like, you know, everybody's got somebody, he's by himself in this town.
true.
Why don't I just like hang out with the jocks? You know, like what else am I doing anyway? You know, at the end of the day, when you think about Reggie, it's good to see him hang out with Archie, but he doesn't have any really strong relationships
Yeah.
outside of Archie, so it
I
must be
just wouldn't get into
lonely.
a car on Halloween night. Like
Yeah,
when you
maybe
know
not
it's
that
already
night.
chaotic, like don't go into the car that night. Like,
And you've literally seen him like smashing mailboxes and
yeah,
going nuts. So like, not the one. Maybe
not
not the one.
tonight. Maybe
Not
tomorrow.
tonight. Maybe tomorrow. Let's hang out. So then it cuts to, at that point in time, did you think there was something was gonna
No, I
go
knew
wrong?
something was gonna happen for sure because
Okay.
it's such a moment in your like trajectory where you're like, do I make this choice? Do I stay on this road or do I go in this car? And a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
times, like you hear people's stories and like they get into a car with a drunk driver
Damn.
or something else, right? And it
True.
changes the entire shift of their life. So I
Yeah.
did feel like this was a pivotal moment for him, whether or not where that led to, I didn't know, obviously, you know?
Right. Right. Oh gosh. Yeah, I didn't see that was a big
Yeah.
surprise to me. I didn't realize, I didn't put it together. I was kind of wondering like, why do they keep bringing Julian back in? Why do they keep bringing Julian back in? Now it all makes sense, obviously. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a moment in one of my favorite movies, A Bronx Tale, where the
mm,
guy gets into the car with his douchebag friends.
yeah.
And there's a moment where you're like, don't get in the car, don't get in the car, don't get in the car. He gets into the car and he's on the way. They're going to do this thing. And his whatever guy pulls him out of the car. He's like, get the fuck out of the car. You're not supposed to be in this car. And then fast
Mm.
forward, the entire car gets blown up and it's on fire by the end of the movie. So, like,
Oh
again,
wow.
it's like that moment where you made that decision, is that where your life's gonna go if you stay in this car? So
Right.
yeah, yeah. I don't know what's gonna
Damn.
happen with him.
I
I'm worried.
know.
I'm really worried.
Are you? Fuck. Okay,
Yeah.
anyway, let's get to the end.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to Ethel's parents' place, the haunted house, and Archie and Betty are sitting on her bed, and he's just like, you know, expressing like he's really nervous. He's just like, like, you know, and so is she. And then he's like, but I want to kiss you. And she's like, okay, let's like kiss. So then they
So
kiss.
cute.
Such a cute
The
moment.
way he
I'm
said it,
always
he's
so
like, I'm
excited.
nervous. I just want to get, I was like, oh.
And of course, this Barchi moment had to be fucking interrupted by a murder or a killer or a murder
But like,
man.
oh God, guys, why are you in this house? That's disgusting. Like, you're probably sitting on like bloody sheets. Like,
That's, they're like, we're horrified. Like Betty does not care. She
Betty
could
does
be in a
not
car.
care.
She could be in a garage in school. She does not give a shit.
Yeah.
Um, so as they're kissing, Betty spots the milkman, which actually spooked me. I was like,
Yeah.
ah! I was like,
Yeah.
he's sitting in the like he's sitting outside the window. And then when she realizes, she's like, I know it sounds crazy, but I thought it was a milkman. And Archie like looks over and he's gone.
Yeah.
And then Archie's like, we should leave. Like, let's just
For
go.
sure. And then like on their
As
way out,
yeah, as they're leaving, they see these milk bottles sitting on the counter, which is even
gave
so
me
even
chills.
creepier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which makes you think like he was in there watching them. Like, what was he doing
Well, I just
there?
think like that's like his lair. Like I think that's probably where he was holding up. Maybe. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like
you
that's
think
because he's like,
so?
no one else is gonna come to this house. Like a murder just happened. Like I'm pretty
Oh
free to
God, that
live
makes me
here.
itch.
Yeah. So I
Ew,
feel like
it's
that was
so
like where he was
gross.
hiding out and like getting his
Ugh.
bottles ready and shit. Yeah.
He's getting that milk in that ready.
Milk, milk.
So gross, so
Yeah.
weird. I I as we were talking about it, the only person that went and explored the house was Betty. Do you think that has anything to do with it? Not to say that she's the killer by any
Uh,
means,
it was
but like,
interesting that she found because she was like, "Oh, I found like bottles of pop, but they were like warm."
mm,
Like I was like, "Okay." It just first of all, it felt weird to me that they were in her parents' like
you're
dead
like,
parents'
first of
house.
all,
Like it's
yes,
a little
that's the
too
weird part.
haunted. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know
yeah.
if there's any significance to it though, because
Okay.
I don't even think they saw the milk. We saw it as the
No,
audience,
we
like
saw
because
it
the
as the
camera, like
audience.
yeah, moved. Yeah,
Oh, so creepy. So then it cuts to the Babylonian, and Veronica says she was like, what a success. She was so excited.
yeah.
She's talking to the boys, Clay and Kevin, and she's like, I want to do a new show like this, like once a month. Like, how about that? And Clay and Kevin are like, yeah, sounds good. However, we do need to talk to you about something. Are you sleeping in the Babylonian? Like, is this
He
like where
said
you're
it so
sleeping now?
dramatically too. I was like, what do you
I
guys
know.
get? I'm like, just say it. Like, what's
I thought
going
they were gonna
on?
like quit together. I thought they were like,
Yeah,
actually, like we're gonna leave, like we're gonna go live
that's
our
what
best
I
lives.
thought.
Yeah, but they're like, are you okay?
They're like, you can
Um,
tell us. Do you live here? I'm like,
and
it's not even
she's,
that bad. It's a sick place.
I know, and also, but to that point, like I don't know why. I mean, I know why she lied, but like she lies and says, the Pembroke is going through a bunch of renos. I'm just here. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. And they're like, okay, cool. They don't seem to buy it very much. So I wonder how they're going to play into her storyline, maybe with her parents, and see if there's some sort of dynamic that they're going to be
Yeah.
able to contribute to, because she could have easily said, like, listen, I'm having a hard time with my parents right now. And they could have had a quick moment where they're like, parents, am I
I think
right?
it
Like
just speaks
they
to
all suck.
Veronica, right? She tries to put this layer around her that shows that she's like
Right.
this boss ass bitch, but like she's really
Exactly.
hurting inside.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens with that. So then it cuts to the Pop's diner, and to the point that you mentioned, we have a Midge, Fangs, Cheryl, and Tony moment where they're all
Hmm.
talking. They're telling each other the tea. Midge talks about the fact that she's pregnant. Cheryl talks about the fact that she's lesbian, and they're both like very happy for each other. They're like, yay, 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 yay. It shows Cheryl and Tony like holding hands at one point, and then it zooms out and Evelyn is picking up food at Pop's as
I
well,
was like,
and she's, I
it
know,
felt so random. I'm like, oh yeah, this bitch is in here. Like I just totally
yeah.
forgot about her.
One of the things that I realized, I knew that she was going to be a problem. I knew that, like, since they like attached all three of them kind of in the same world with the Vixens or whatever, I knew that Evelyn was going to become that person that like exposes her about
Yeah.
everything. I'm just kind of, to your point, I forgot about her. Like,
Yeah.
why is she here?
Yeah.
I thought we were like over that, and the fact that she's going to be coming back around at some point to
Yeah.
out Cheryl or do whatever, it's kind of like, okay, let's see how this plays
I
out,
feel
I
like
guess.
she's working for the parents. Like she's like the narc of like the group, you
Oh
know?
yeah, for sure. Like she's gonna,
She's like
maybe she'll
telling them
tell
what's
the
happening.
principal. Yeah, she'll do
Yeah.
something like really bad. Hopefully it doesn't land Cheryl at like the Sisters of Quiet Mercy or something. I have no idea. But also, like, wouldn't you have seen Evelyn walk into Pops? Like, were you that
But
into
they're
each
not
other
paying
talking?
attention, right?
They're
Like
not
they're
paying
all like
attention.
in their own little world. Like even me,
Yeah.
like I noticed someone came in. I didn't like look. I was like looking at their,
Oh,
but
okay.
I saw like a shadow. I'm like, okay, here we go. Someone's coming in. It's gonna be like drama. But I didn't know
Right.
who it was.
It's so, and like they're so excited to like be able to hold hands with each other and like
Yeah.
enjoy themselves, that they're not paying attention. These poor
Yeah.
girls. So anyway, we'll see what happens with that situation. Then it cuts to Archie dropping Betty off in front of her house. He's like, this was the best Halloween I ever had in
It's
my
the best one of my
life.
life.
She's like, me too. And they're about to kiss again, and then Alice comes out like a psychopath. Like
Psycho.
she
And
looks
like
like
she's like dressed in her outfit
untethered.
still.
She's like, Betty Cooper, what are you doing out here? Get inside right now. And it was funny because Betty threw back in her face, like, I thought you weren't my mom. Like, she
Yeah.
like basically tells her, like,
I
go
thought you
fuck
said you
yourself.
weren't my mom. She's like,
Yeah.
I am. Get in here now.
Yeah. So anyway, that happens. Really cute moment. Then it cuts back to the Babylonium, and Veronica is praying to her lost souls. One of them is her abuela.
I thought this was so
I know, it was
cute.
so cute, but also I was like, damn, that is a memorial that you set
Yeah.
up in the Babylonium. Like,
Yeah.
girl, get it. And then she has a sad moment, which we haven't seen a lot of Veronica's
Yeah.
character up until this point, where she lays on her couch and she pulls out a photograph that she had underneath her pillow, and it's a photo of her and her parents,
Hmm.
Mark and Swilos, no, Hiram and Hermione Lodge, obviously, and she starts crying. So it's like a really sad moment.
It
So
is, yeah.
I'm wondering if we're going to see them come in now that he's officially been
Episode
like,
13.
oh my god, so like 2 episodes from
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he was on, I think I saw like a clip of that. Like, Machen is directing the
Yes, that
episode
episode.
that he's returning
Yeah.
for.
And I think Hermione's coming back too.
Yeah, they must
Yeah.
both
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
coming back.
It's time. They got to see their daughter. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
like, girl, what did you do to your kid? So then it cuts to Jughead actually, before we move on, any other thoughts about that? Veronica having some feelings about
No,
her
no, I just
family.
really thought I was really like emotional. Like I was like, this is such a beautiful moment. And I love that this tradition is what sort of pulled at her heartstrings and like was like, where is my family? Like that was my favorite
Yeah,
time with them. Like, where are they? So
right.
I just thought that was a really beautiful moment for Veronica. I hope she gets more, you know?
Of that,
Like I hope
yeah.
she gets like that the love that like she's craving from her family.
Yeah, we'll see how this version of Hiram and Hermione treat her,
Yeah.
because obviously in the other world it wasn't so fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, so then it cuts to Jughead walking Ethel back to the apartment. She asks, like, "Did you want to come in?" And he's
She's
like,
like
"No, no, no."
thirsty too. She's like, Jughead, like I missed you. Like,
She's like,
can you
"Do you
come?
want
Do
to?"
you want to see the house? And he was like, no, like I literally already saw it. Like, I
Yeah,
know what it
and
looks
it's
like.
also
And
like a
she's like,
murder scene. Like,
okay.
I don't want to be
He
here.
could have like taken her in and like made her feel a bit more comfortable. Like,
Yeah, it was exactly be like, "Here's the
here's the
bathroom. Here's the
door. I'm just not gonna
kitchen."
open it.
Yeah,
Bye.
exactly. He's like, "Here it is. Bye." So then of course this is why they did it, like they set it up
Yeah.
so weirdly and creepily. She gets inside, and the milkman is behind the door.
Like waiting for
So
her.
fucking terrifying. I was so scared. This milkman is
I
so
was so
creepy.
scared. But now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like it was meant for Jughead.
You think so?
Yeah. Like, why would they want to kill Ethel?
But maybe like
And
maybe
how
I
would they
mean,
even know she escaped? Like, how would they know where she is? She escaped, you know?
but now that it's like public knowledge, like even the principal knows that she escaped, like the sheriff knows that she's out.
But was
So
that the first time she went to the apartment?
yes, you're
Yeah,
right.
so I feel like he was waiting
Or
for
maybe
I feel like he was waiting because how would he know that she's gonna be there?
that
You know
she
what I
was gonna
mean?
show up. Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
like
fair,
Jughead's been
very good
going
point.
there back and forth. Like Jughead's been spending time at the apartment, and like I feel like maybe it's like because Jughead's asking too many questions. Like he
Mm,
really is, right? So I feel like
true.
that was meant for Jughead.
But what if he never even showed up? The milkman would have just stood there all night long. Like,
Well,
how did he know that
if
they
you
were
want to
gonna?
talk logistics, yeah.
He would have just
Unless
waited for him to show up. He has his own place to live. Like he would have shown up
oh
at like Jughead's place. You'd think, you know what I mean? Like
no, but
sitting
like
and
now
waiting
that I'm
for
thinking
him.
about it, maybe because he went to the like Ethel's house and he was like, "Fuck! Like people are here. I can't stay here now." He's like,
Right,
"Where? Who else did I kill? Oh yeah, that guy. Let me go to his apartment." Maybe
right,
that's what he was planning to do. And then when he
yeah,
heard someone like opening the door, he was like, "Oh fuck! Like I gotta kill this person or something." I don't know.
right. He's still so like whoever is playing him is like so fucking
It's
creepy.
good.
Like
It's a
his
good villain. It's a good villain.
very really good creepy villain. Like
Yeah,
really like makes my the hair stand
yeah.
on edge. And
And then shout
um
out to the cat lady because she saves the day like once again.
yeah.
She's like, "Where's
Um
my milk?"
this woman will not give up on her fucking milk. Like
Someone
and
fucking buy her milk,
and
please.
also like if you heard it down the hall, like how do you not stop the milkman before he gets past your
Like you
door?
made him walk
Like
all the way that way. You never heard him come back this way. Like, okay, go knock on the door or
go
something.
knock on the fucking door. So as Jughead leaves, the cat lady's like, "Oh, I thought the milkman was gonna come out because I just heard his freaking things again." And then Jughead's like, "Oh my god, the
He's
milkman!"
like, it's like slow
He's like,
motion.
"Ethel!" He runs back to the apartment. He like knocks on the door. Somehow Jughead has like superhuman strength and breaks this whole fucking door down, which is like not possible for a
Yeah,
teenager to do. And the gag of it all, it
the
is
gag
the
of it all.
milkman on the floor
He
dead.
did.
Ethel is the one holding the knife,
Yup.
and she goes, "I told everyone there was a milkman," and then that
Mm-hmm.
scene cuts, which was shocking to me. I was like,
Hella
"What the
shocking.
fuck? What
Yeah,
the
like good
fuck?"
for Ethel.
Ethel saved her own life, but like
Yeah,
also like what the hell is gonna happen with this like milkman
yeah.
situation?
I don't
Like
know.
I'm gagged. I
It's
was
for
so
sure gonna,
gagged.
yeah, like something's gonna come out that now that he's dead.
Now that he's dead, is Ethel gonna like play the in defense card? Are they gonna find out the identity of this milkman? Like, what is the whole situation there? Like, I don't even know where they're gonna go with the story now that he's dead. Like,
Yeah.
what or like did
I
she
think it's
kill
gonna open
him?
up more questions. You know what I mean? Like now they're gonna be like, "Who is this guy?" Whatever, and then that's gonna answer some
Like,
questions.
who is he working with?
Yeah, yeah.
Like maybe Ethel knew that he was gonna be there and she had to kill him anyway because I don't
No,
know.
no, I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know.
I think it was just like, I think what makes more sense is probably he went to his base lair. He saw like BARCHIE kissing. And he's like, shit, I can't be here. And then he
Right.
went to this guy's house thinking no one's going to be there, you
No
know?
one's gonna be there, and then sure enough,
Yeah.
she shows up, and then she has to accidentally kill him because
Yeah.
he's about to attack her or something.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens next in that series. That got really, really exciting. I was like, what's gonna happen in that situation?
I know.
And then we get a final gag, which Archie's woken up by Frank saying that there was a huge accident. You have to get up. We have to like help out. And turns out
I literally
that,
forgot who he was talking about at first. I was like, wait,
yeah,
what?
like, what are you talking about? I was like, you talking about the accident that we just saw? Like, Ethel just called the police or what?
Yeah.
And he says that there was a car full of kids that went off the road into Sweetwater River. And then I think Archie even asked like, were there any survivors or who was it? And Frank is like, I don't know anything else.
And then it like kind of like the camera like starts to zoom out, and like Archie sees that like Reggie's bed's like still made, and like he never came home.
Yeah. And then that's how the episode cuts and ends.
It was like
so
back to back. I was like, whoa.
It was a lot of like shit, holy shit. So like really great ending to the episode. Really good episode. Enjoyed it thoroughly. What do you think happened? Like, do you think that any of them are dead? Do you think that Reggie's in a coma? Like, what's the situation? Like, what do you think that they're gonna play?
I don't know. I just don't know if like I wouldn't mind if Reggie, if there was this huge sort of death, right? Like death to a character, just because like I don't know what else is there for Reggie at this point. Like in this timeline, obviously in the regular timeline, he's still there. But and again, like we never have deaths in the show. So do I think he's dead? Probably not. But I think it would be a crazy like kind of turn of events and a shift, because it's also a shift in Archie's innocence and like, you know, like this crazy death that he's had to deal with. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that there will be a death, but I don't think it's going to be Reggie. I think it might be Julian.
Yeah.
I think that makes the most sense, only because like if you want to make the parallel to him and Jason,
right, in Sweetwater River,
like there is a whole connection there that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And I think that we're kind of done with what Julian's character can bring to the show.
Yeah.
The way that he ends off being kind of a douchebag kind of sucks, because like really, like, are we supposed to just assume that, you know, douchebags just die douchebags? Like, I don't know if I love that as a final ending for Julian, but I think it makes sense because Jason also died the same, like, or was found in the same way,
and the car is the same, and
exactly. So like, I don't know what, and then maybe that propels this story along even more, because maybe you know, as we're like theorizing, maybe Clifford is a part of this whole like milkman murder storyline now that his son
is
like,
dead.
Like now that his son is dead, like maybe this accelerates things a little bit more.
Like, I like that more than the Reggie story. I like that more. Yeah.
Like maybe then Clifford will go after Reggie's family, which is he's already threatened before. You know what I mean? Like we don't really know like how this entanglement between Reggie being in the car, maybe Julian dies, like what that all means. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they play with.
That's a good point. Yeah.
That is the episode. Let's get into our recap on roundups.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. My best moment is gonna go to all the BARCHIE moments, and then of course the Archie and Reggie moments, because they were just the ones that the smile on my face, you know, like it just made me so happy, so entertaining.
So well done. My best moment is the one on the bed, because like it gave us the romance, and then that shock with like the milkman, like I think that it like gave me all the emotions, the scary and the sexy.
WTF moment.
WTF moment, obviously the endings, like both of the endings really like one hit me and then the other one hit me, and I'm like, oh my god, like I can't deal with this, because not every episode ends with like a big punch, right? So we rarely get that. So this one was two like really big hits, and I don't know what's gonna happen with Reggie. And then the milkman, Ethel killing him, like huge.
That's huge. That is my WTF moment, because I did not expect it to happen. I thought that like maybe Ethel was gonna be the one to go down, and like, or even like, you know, Jughead getting in the middle of them fighting with each other. and then him running, like the milkman running away, and the cat lady being like, "Where's my milk?" Or who knows?
Yeah.
But like the fact that like you open the door and like the milkman
He's
is
already dead.
I'm like, holy.
Because like, how did she do it? Like, how did like if he went to kill
just,
her, what she grabbed his knife and then like killed him, like Arya Stark style? Like, what happened?
But like, did he run into her and she like had the knife anyway? It
Yeah,
was
like,
just a
yeah.
shock. I'm really interested to see what happens next episode.
Yeah.
MVP.
My MVP is gonna be Veronica because
Ronnie.
she's just been like, she's been a businesswoman before, but like in this world, she's just
next
really
level
slaying. Like she really is. The theatrics, the cinema, like the drama, like she's just been so good at it to the point where I'm like, can I get a ticket? Like I want to see this show.
I want to show up to this show.
I want to show up, and I didn't really appreciate her, like the sadness that came after that fact. And I'm like, I'm rooting for her. You know.
I'm totally rooting for her. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. My MVP is gonna go to Reggie. I thought he was like the best wingman ever. I thought he did such a great job this episode. Like you mentioned, like I love the relationship that he had with Archie this episode. I liked the little flirtation that he had with Betty. Like Reggie, what a stand-up guy. Like I just enjoyed his character this episode. Yeah.
Stand-up guy.
Stand-up guy. I love that guy. Yeah.
LVP.
Okay, so my LVP, I didn't have one because I didn't want to choose Sheriff Keller again because he fucking is.
He's always the LVP. Yeah.
But I will let you say yours because I definitely do like agree with yours a little bit.
Yeah, mine is Ethel because I'm just like, girl, why do you always have to be in the worst humanly possible situations? Always, like you're always in the wrong place,
Ethel.
wrong time ever. Like you crawled out of the fucking sewer just so you can be holding a knife and stabbing like another person. Like, girl, stop.
I will
Like,
say
enough.
I will say they did give Shannon Purser a comeback for comebacks. Like they really did. Because I did feel like they did her dirty like all this whole time. Like she's always had like the waste like storylines like being taken advantage of. And now they really brought her back, especially in this role. Like if she's the one that took down this man, this guy, this killer, like it's a sick turn of events for her. So
the hope is that like she doesn't go back to jail and like we don't get the recycled storyline with her.
Maybe she'll have to like run away or something, you know?
Leave again. she's like, I'm on the phone, hey, now I'm in Manitoba, you know what I mean, like randomly. Oh god, Ethel, girl,
the best line. My best line has to go to Betty Cooper when she says, I'm Goldilocks, of course. You know, she couldn't decide on a bed, so she tried all three. That's gonna go down as like one of the best lines like ever of the show. Like it was just so good.
The way she delivered it, like the slyness of it
the
all.
The only weird thing was that Dilton was the third one. That's the only weird part. I was like, ugh.
I was like, all right, weird story. Yeah, I love that line. I think that was one of my favorites as well. I think mine is gonna go to what I mentioned with the guy at the Halloween party where he's like, the enemy is here at home, wholesome, conforming, homogenous America. Because even though it came out of literally nowhere, I think that there is some importance to that being like
100%.
I said, like the thesis of Riverdale, like the idea of this like perfect town and the fact that like really the enemy is from within and we need to work on our shit, you know?
It was very important. I also did like when Jughead was like, my house is like the Waldorf now, like please don't mess it up next time you guys go like looking around. I was like, that's so funny.
That was good.
Like stop messing out with my freaking like apartment, like leave me alone.
Stop it. Yeah,
I thought that was cute.
So good.
You want to do the first listener roundup?
Yeah, is that me?
Yeah.
At Zephron's Ninja says, best moment, all the Barchie moments. I can't just pick one. WTF moment, the ending. MVP, Barchie. LVP, Julian for continuing to be an a-hole. And best line, it feels like I've known you my entire life. I think I want to kiss you. This was the best Halloween of my entire life, Betty Cooper. So 3 lines, 3 different scenes, but all Archie Andrews.
So cute.
Love that.
The next one's from at CHONI5 on it. Best line, so beauty queen, what you doing for Halloween?
So beauty queen, what you doing for Halloween?
Tony to Cheryl and Betty telling Veronica that she gets butterflies from Reggie. WTF moment, Betty telling Veronica that she gets butterflies from Reggie. We are almost halfway through the season, but it seems like Betty is just horny and is willing to go with anyone. Like if Reggie tried it with her, she would be up for it. I don't know. Her story with Archie is a bit, I don't know. Also, Penelope telling Cheryl to have the sleepover in the main hall because she doesn't want any hanky-panky. And Alice coming to beef Veronica. Like, she's an adult. What's going on? Best moment, the CHONI kiss. LVP, Sheriff Keller, useless in every single dimension. MVP, Reggie and CHONI. Oh, wow. And then I think we have some from IG.
IG people.
At Sierra N.
Yes.
MVP, Veronica. I loved how hyped she was about Halloween because girl, me too. I loved how she had a great business idea and it worked without any obstacles. Like I was waiting for something to go wrong, but it didn't. And I'm glad she started singing because I wasn't feeling the number till she came on. She's also in general just a more fun character. I also loved how she didn't care when Betty said she might be into Reggie too, as I didn't realize Veggie is just bones. What's ATP?
At this point?
Oh, at this point, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Just bones at this point. LVP, Alice, again, she's just driving me nuts. Like, I'm kind of over Alice constantly being the antagonist. It's feeling repetitive, and she's never had any character development. Anytime she goes as a character, they throw her into a cult, get brainwashed, or send her back in time so she can be a conservative villain. Like, it's annoying at this point. Best moment, BARCHIE kiss. Finally, they kiss outside of a fantasy. But that's what I was thinking too. I was like, this whole time, we've never even gotten a kiss yet. Like, it's
like
only
real,
been this
real kiss.
Fantasy, right? I love their chemistry, and one thing I'll always commend the writers on is their writing for BARCHIE. They've always done the slow burn and build up to them having moments like these very well. That's very true. Also, the CHONI kiss on stage. I'm shocked that they didn't receive backlash from this yet. WTF moment, obviously Ethel killing the milkman was whack AF, but I have a theory of that moment specifically, which I'll mention later on. The accident at the end was also whack, though we know Reggie won't die, and again, Julian is something I'll mention in my theory later on. Best line, it feels I've known you forever, Archie. I just want to read their theory because what are they talking about here? Okay.
Yeah, I want to
Julian. Okay, Julian potentially dying after driving off a bridge into Sweetwater River somewhat lines up with Jason's body being thrown into Sweetwater River. Right. Julian dying could also be a loose, could also tie up a loose end, as he technically shouldn't exist, as he's technically a doll, and Jason died in 621 again, so he can't be replacement either. Maybe Ethel killing the milkman has Tabitha written all over it, as maybe the milkman murders are part of the knot in the timeline that Tabitha mentioned, and Ethel killing him was her way of fixing it. But why would Tabitha make a serial killer to kill, like,
yeah,
the parents and stuff?
Why kill the parents exactly? Like, I think that part doesn't
make sense because we don't really have any clues as to who could be behind it, which is odd, as every season we usually have a list of people that could be behind the mystery, but this season there's none, and it's the first time. Well, I do think there, for us, our suspects is this group of men, I think, that's controlling the town, and I think that's very apparent when Jughead goes to Sheriff Keller and he's like, check this milkman out. He's like, bro, just stop talking. He's like, there's no milkman. If you didn't see him, it didn't happen. So Sheriff Keller's trying to put out that fire. Like, he does not even want to entertain it. So I think he's definitely hiding something too.
Interesting theories though.
Yeah, they did a Rocky Horror number, but Rocky Horror wasn't released until the 70s. Yep. And they stated multiple times that this is 1955. Fang said hell by Squirrel, or sang hell by Squirrel, not Zippers, but it wasn't released till 1996. Oh, you guys are so good with this date game. Mackenzie Burns,
shout out.
Best moment, Betty and Archie having a special moment at Fred's grave, and the first kiss in the 50s. WTF moment, Jughead thinking Ethel staying at Ray Bradbury's house was a good idea, seriously. MVP, Reggie Mantle, the BARCHIE plot device. LVP, Julian for convincing Reggie to join his stupid adventures, plus also Tom Keller, but that's typical. Best line, I feel like I have known you my entire life. I feel the same way. So cute. And our last one is from @Marina. Best moment overall, it was a good episode. The scene between Archie and Reggie talking about Betty and taking a mature decision of how to act, and after that playing like child's children, I guess, was cute. Betty and Archie in front of Fred's grave was beautiful. WTF moment, the audio of the performance of Kevin, Clay, Tony, and Cheryl. Something was off. Ethel killing the milkman. What the F? She always gives off killer vibes when she appears. MVP, BARCHIE and CHONI. Very beautiful scenes between the two couples. LVP, still Tom Keller, and again, no need to explain. And Alice, why is she so extra all the time? Best line, I was just thinking about how my mom and dad used to take us trick-or-treating. Remember that. And of course, she remembers we have been friends for a very long time. Yes, we have been. I feel like I've known you my entire life. I felt the same way. I hope nothing happens to Reggie. Aww. Also, from what I was seeing, it seems they are going to be in 1955 for almost the entire season, since they are filming the last episodes and it is still set in that period. I don't know how to feel, and I don't know if I like the idea that in the last chapter they magically return to present. People have been saying that like they are very worried of like when we are going to go back to the main timeline. And I guess the only way, guys, is we'll see. They've been doing such a great job this season, so I really do have faith that they have it figured out. Yeah. But I do think they need more than one episode in the original timeline to like just to kind of like smooth everything over, you know?
It's almost like we need like a movie or something, you know what I mean? How they do like those like final movies to kind of wrap up what happens.
Yeah.
Like almost an epilogue, because I think that we even mentioned that too. Like, yes, it'd be nice to see everything kind of wrapped up, you know, closing that book in the final episode, but I wouldn't be surprised, if they take us all the way to the end and like maybe it is just that flip of our characters just being there. Somehow it all just makes sense, and maybe somehow none of it makes sense, and that is Riverdale. Like, I think that one of the things that I'm learning to like be okay with, especially after 7 seasons of madness, is Riverdale is Riverdale. It's not going to be anything but. You're not going to always expect the ending. You might expect the ending, and it might be like just as lackluster. So just enjoy the ride. Enjoy
100%.
what you're dealing with. Am I happy that we're still stuck in like the 50s and a story where like none of the characters that we've been building for the last 6 seasons have any recollection of like their history? Yeah, I'm a little annoyed about the fact that like it might have been interesting to see these characters remember and then still be stuck in the 50s and see how they react to being in that world in the 50s as themselves. So like, you know, we're seeing them wearing those costumes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna know or not know that they live in the 50s.
Very true. I like that, J-Lag. I like that a lot.
So we, you know, just by visually seeing that, we can assume that that is going to be the case, but maybe that's not going to be like what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And maybe that will be the connect that we're all hoping and looking for.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think we'll just keep it moving. We're at episode, enjoy the ride. We're at episode 11, so we're pretty much halfway there. And actually, I think next episode is not being released until 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
So I think they're taking a little quick break, and then by the 21st or whatever, they're gonna come back around with the next episode. So stay tuned for that. Are we taking us all the way to the end? I would like to thank our patrons of the episode. We have our Rewinder squad: White Cliff, Hannah, Julia, and Haley. Our Lit Rewinders: Tina, N, and Kate, and our Mommy Rewinder: Becca, Sarah.
Thank you, guys. If you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind.
And also make sure you're checking us out on all of our socials: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. You can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to say engage with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks for listening.
Bye.